Muy buenos días a todas y a todos. En nombre de la Secretaría de Desarrollo Económico del Estado de Hidalgo, les damos la más cordial bienvenida a esta transmisión en vivo del tercer ciclo de conferencias de la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme Hidalgo 2025. Este espacio ha sido creado para impulsar, reconocer y acompañar el talento, la visión y la capacidad de todas las mujeres que forman parte del ecosistema emprendedor y empresarial del Estado de Hidalgo. Durante estos días estaremos compartiendo conocimientos, experiencias, herramientas y estrategias que fortalecerán el crecimiento de sus negocios y proyectos. Agradecemos profundamente su presencia y participación a quienes siguen esta transmisión totalmente en vivo. Gracias por conectarse, por su entusiasmo y por ser parte activa que sigue transformando la economía de nuestro estado. Sean todas y todos bienvenidos nuevamente. El día de hoy contamos con la presencia de la maestra Ivonne Bautista Álvarez, directora de Cadenas Productivas y Desarrollo de Proveedores.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy buenos días. Muchas gracias, Rocío. Pues estamos muy contentos de estar el día de hoy en la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme y bueno, la invitada que tenemos especial, que es la embajadora de Nueva Zelanda en México.
Muchas gracias, maestra Ivonne.
Y bueno, pues embajadora, es usted bienvenida en este evento de la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme. Estamos muy contentos que esté usted aquí, en el cual pues nos va a compartir conocimientos acerca de la perspectiva que tiene Nueva Zelanda en México. Y bueno, pues le transmito un saludo por parte de nuestro gobernador, el licenciado Julio Menchaca Salazar, al igual que nuestro secretario de Desarrollo Económico, el ingeniero Carlos Henkel Escorza. Bienvenida a la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme Hidalgo 2025. Gracias, Chio.
Muchas gracias, maestra Ivonne. Agradecemos también el apoyo y la colaboración para la interpretación de la presente conferencia de nuestra compañera, la maestra Guadalupe Salgado Bolio, quien nos va a apoyar en la traducción. Les recordamos a nuestro público ir formulando sus preguntas. Más adelante tenemos un espacio. Lupita, bienvenida. Si gustas dar un mensaje de bienvenida.
Gracias, Rocío. Buenos días a todos. We would like to thank to the ambassador on behalf of Governor and Secretary Carlos Henkel. Thank you for being here today with us and share your perspective and New Zealand perspective about Mexico. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Lupita. Damos inicio ya entonces, es así, con la conferencia La participación de Nueva Zelanda en el empoderamiento económico de las mujeres a través del comercio, a cargo de Sara Jane Ireland, embajadora de Nueva Zelanda en México. Si me permite, Sara, vamos a leer y dar a conocer, más que todo, vamos a dar a conocer tu trayectoria. ¿Me ayudas? Bueno, comenzamos. Es un honor para nosotros contar con su presencia y conocimientos. Agradecemos profundamente su tiempo e interés por las mujeres del estado de Hidalgo. Si me lo permite, Sara, comenzamos. Ella es embajadora de Nueva Zelanda en México desde hace 18 años en el Ministerio de Asuntos Exteriores y Comercio de Nueva Zelanda, donde ha desempeñado diversos roles en áreas jurídicas y de comercio y política exterior, incluyendo asuntos de derecho mercantil, internacional y derecho del mar, seguridad regional y geopolítica en el Pacífico, relaciones de Nueva Zelanda en el sudeste asiático y una asignación diplomática en Canadá. Fue negociadora en jefe de Nueva Zelanda para el Acuerdo sobre el Comercio de Servicios, asesoría jurídica principal para el Acuerdo Transpacífico Integral y Progresivo de Asociación Económica y dirigió el equipo de Derecho del Medio Ambiente y los Recursos del Ministerio. Antes de trabajar en el ministerio, ejerció como abogada en Nueva Zelanda y en el Reino Unido. Es un placer y un honor para nosotros contar con tu presencia, Sara. Adelante, por favor, con la participación de Nueva Zelanda en el empoderamiento económico de las mujeres a través del comercio.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días. Primero que nada, muchas gracias a la Secretaria de Desarrollo Económico de Hidalgo por la amable invitación. Quisiera pedir su apoyo para reproducir un video, por favor. Es una breve introducción a cómo hacemos negocios en Nueva Zelanda.
New Zealand is a beautiful country with stable democratic leadership. We have been trading and exporting for centuries, and we know how to build global partnerships.
The relationship always comes first. Good relationships means good business results.
New Zealand has a huge amount of free trade agreements that give us access to over 2 billion consumers.
Under the regulatory environment, you can get stuff done.
It's a very stable country with strong governance.
We're one of the least corrupt countries in the world, so you can trust that doing business with New Zealand is transparent, honest and reliable.
Working with Kiwis is great. They are extremely trustworthy and they're fun to work with.
We grow up in a really multicultural environment in New Zealand, so we're used to doing business with everyone.
When you take really talented, humble Kiwis and they bring in the best and the brightest from around the world, magic happens.
We build great global businesses where we join countries together.
It took science, technology, innovation, astronomy to bring our ancestors here.
From the 40-hour working week to women's suffrage, New Zealand has a history of pioneering social change and innovation.
We're the masters of figuring things out. Innovation is ingrained in New Zealand culture.
You're taught to question, you're taught to wonder, you're taught to puzzle, to be inspired.
We're curious, so we try it and we experiment.
There's an entrepreneurial spirit that exists in New Zealand.
And what we can offer is limitless. They're launching rockets in New Zealand. How cool is that?
Our beautiful natural environment makes us the obvious place for advancements in agriculture, clean energy and sustainability initiatives.
And of course, we make great movies.
But we're also good at other things, lots of other things.
It's about what we can do today to make a positive change for our future.
We see ourselves as kaitiaki, guardians of people, place and planet.
Decisions about the long term, for what's good for our people, what's good for our children's children.
Our values come through in everything that we do and in our global trade relationships.
It's about truthfulness. It's about doing things the right way.
There's always integrity in any business ran by a Kiwi.
New Zealand's gift to the world is the passion of our people, the tenacity by which we tackle things, and our willingness to just give anything a go.
It's all happening in this part of the world. We're really open for business.
Muchas gracias. Será un gusto dialogar con mujeres empresarias de Hidalgo y compartir un poco sobre el contexto de empoderamiento económico de las mujeres en el país. También quisiera hablar sobre nuestro trabajo con México en asuntos de comercio y género, incluyendo mediante el TPAT y el Acuerdo Global sobre Comercio y Género, TITAGA, y las relevantes actividades de cooperación que ejecutamos aquí en México. Si lo permiten, haré mi presentación en inglés porque todavía estoy trabajando en español. Siguiente. I'd like to start by saying how proud we are that New Zealand and Mexico have historically found common ground in promoting and defending women's rights, including in relation to economic empowerment and their effective inclusion in international trade. The promotion of free and inclusive trade has traditionally been an important part of our bilateral relationship. The inclusive part is significant. In New Zealand, we uphold the values of Māori, our Indigenous people, including that of manaakitanga. This means we value and care for every member of our whānau or family. It also means we have a commitment to ensure the benefits of trade reach everyone, especially those groups that have traditionally been underrepresented. Mexico shares this view. Siguiente. First, I would like to share a little bit about how we work with Mexico on these issues. The Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or in Espanol, TPAT, our free trade agreement with Mexico and the wider Asia-Pacific region, is quite innovative in addressing gender-specific barriers that women-led businesses face when exporting. For example, it encourages collaboration on programs that support women's economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, and participation in trade, and created an intergovernmental committee to share best practices to increase access to information and capacity of women-led small and medium-sized enterprises. CPTPP countries have also recognized that enhancing opportunities for women's participation in the global economy contributes to broader economic development. Siguiente. We've been cooperating on these things, including through events like this one, for many years. Siguiente. New Zealand and Mexico have also continued to expand and solidify our shared commitment to gender and trade through GTAGA. If you haven't heard of it, GTAGA is a platform for the exchange and promotion of gender and trade policies and seeks to ensure greater participation of women, including small and medium-sized enterprises, in global exports. For example, through this mechanism, New Zealand has led a panel discussion on improving the quality of data analysis to enable better understanding of gender equality issues in trade and enhance the effectiveness of policies to address these differences, as well as a private sector focused event on best practices to enhance women's participation in STEM-related industries. GTAGA was launched in 2020 by New Zealand, Canada, and Chile, and Mexico joined soon afterwards in 2021. It now includes 9 participants, mostly from Latin America and the Asia Pacific. We always welcome engagement on gender and trade efforts, including GTAGA, from state governments like Hidalgo as well, given you have the ability to achieve local change and facilitate engagement with community-based networks. Siguiente. As a sign of our commitment to these issues, New Zealand was the first country to undertake a performance review by the OECD on trade and gender in 2022. This study found that while women's participation in export-related jobs in New Zealand has grown faster than men's in the past 2 decades, we still have a lot of room to improve. For example, gender pay gaps in export participation and leadership remain significant. Siguiente. New Zealand's Ministry for Women, or Manatu Wahine, conducted a further study in 2023 regarding structural barriers for women in trade. It found that only 14% of New Zealand exporting companies are owned by women versus 20% of non-exporting ones. For Mexico, which was reviewed by the OECD earlier this year as part of a broader Latin American review, the OECD found 19% of male-led companies are exporting, compared to only 8% of women-led ones. This is a significant gap and is partly attributed by the OECD to the fact that women here are mostly leading micro companies, which are less likely to go into international trade. Limited access to finance and credit for women entrepreneurs also plays a role. So what are we doing about it? Well, first, as I've already described, New Zealand has championed including gender considerations into our trade agreements and our collaboration with other countries. The government is also working on facilitating women's export networks. An example is Women in Export Aotearoa. Aotearoa is the Indigenous name for New Zealand. Co-hosted by several government departments, these connect women exporters and enable the sharing of experiences. New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, or NZTE, New Zealand's Export and Investment Promotion Agency, also has several programs that support women in business. For example, Invest Her which connects women business owners with potential investors, and something called the Diversity and Inclusion Toolkit, which includes practical advice to enable all businesses in New Zealand to build inclusive workplace cultures. NZT also worked with its former minister, also a woman, the Honourable Barbara Edmonds, to lead New Zealand's first all-women trade mission in 2020. This mission included 26 business leaders from a wide range of sectors, including food and beverage, health products, technology, and brand and marketing. New Zealand government-led trade missions continue to have prominent women leaders involved, such as Dame Therese Walsh, who is the chair of Air New Zealand, which is our national aircraft carrier, and ASB Bank, which is one of our largest banks. Another person is Sarah Ottring, who's the chair of our Christchurch Airport and also a director of Skyline Enterprises. Skyline Enterprises is a company that designs tourism experiences all over the world. Siguiente. Women-led companies supported by New Zealand Trade and Enterprise through the Women in Export program are now achieving almost $2 billion New Zealand in exports globally. On this slide, there are a few examples of women-led businesses, including some that are currently active in Mexico. This includes Junora, a company that's dedicated to creating clean and sustainable skincare, which you can find in your local Costco. And another company called Enix that provides unique solutions for the mining and resources sector. And their founder and general manager, Stephanie Olsen, was here last week representing her company and its products at Expo Mineria in Acapulco. A number of other companies you've got there are Chip Tech Limited, a company specializing in the design and manufacture of digital telecare and personal safety products, especially for elderly people. And Wilson and Dorset, which offers a range of products made of sheepskins. Siguiente. These are all great examples of how diverse female-led businesses can be, and more broadly, while people tend to think of New Zealand as a food exporter, how diverse our companies are across the board. So, sorry, just to say, New Zealand Ministry for Women's report also found that women-led enterprises often have fairer working conditions for their employees. For example, at large companies led by men, more than 80% of the top earners were men. Whereas at large women-led companies, the ratio is much closer to 60-40. Yet another reason to support women entrepreneurs. I also wanted to highlight the role of Indigenous women in business in New Zealand. Our Ministry for Women has found some interesting insights. While wahine Māori or Māori women in business often work in agriculture, forestry, fishing, increasingly you'll find Māori-led businesses in scientific and technical services, construction, healthcare, and social services. And Māori women from rural areas make up 1/3 of the population in this category. Māori women in business are, for the most part, entrepreneurs. They've been establishing and growing startup businesses. Finally, I just wanted to mention the Indigenous Peoples Economic and Trade Cooperation Agreement, or IPETCA. New Zealand's also a member of this economic agreement that seeks to promote Indigenous participation in trade. We would very much like Mexico to join this agreement, and we continue to encourage the government. Finally, I wanted to share a little bit about the embassy's cooperation activities in Mexico. Every year, New Zealand awards small grants to grassroots civil society organisations working on priority areas. Through our Embassy Fund, we have supported more than 80 projects in Mexico related to climate change resilience, education, community development, Indigenous peoples, and sustainable agriculture. Gender and women's economic empowerment are priorities for New Zealand, which is why we have been pleased to support a number of women-led projects. An example is a project funded this past year in the state of Puebla that supports Indigenous women honey producers to preserve native bees while also producing native honey and derived products. By supporting the commercialization of native honey products, this project helped improve the quality of life of the community. It increased economic activity and the economic empowerment of women, while also mitigating the effects of climate change. The project was attractive to us because there are real similarities between the miel de abeja melipona and manuka, a type of New Zealand honey deeply connected to the Maori people and considered a taonga, or a treasure. Another example is from 2022, when we supported a collective of 28 Raramure women in the state of Chihuahua. With our financial contribution, they were able to purchase equipment for a sewing workshop, as well as secure commercial premises. This project led to them being able to continue to support their families while preserving their traditional clothing and promoting their cultural identity. Although we have not funded projects from Hidalgo directly on women's economic empowerment in the last few years, I did want to quickly note the Embassy has supported local football for girls from underprivileged areas of Hidalgo. And this one was on the occasion of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup that New Zealand co-hosted. So thank you again for your time, and thank you for your interest in New Zealand. I hope this presentation has sparked an interest in pursuing trade with a market like New Zealand. one that has community and sustainability at the centre, and that is much closer to Mexico than you might think. To help build further connections, our colleagues at New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, which also has an office here in Mexico City, can help identify potential partners in New Zealand, including but not limited to industries like food and beverages, technology, medical devices, and mining. There are also a number of business chambers that can facilitate connections between our two countries. The Latin America New Zealand Business Council based in New Zealand, ANZNEX, the Australia New Zealand Business Chamber located here in Mexico, and COMSE, which has a New Zealand committee. I would suggest getting in touch with them if you want to explore opportunities to diversify in New Zealand. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm keen to hear any questions you might have. I'm very sorry I wasn't able to deliver this speech in Spanish, but I would be interested in hearing about your experiences as women in business in Mexico. I'd like to leave you with a traditional Maori proverb that encompasses the shared values and interests of New Zealand and Mexico. Nā tō roro, nā taku roro kaora ai te iwi. Con tu canasta de alimento y mi canasta de alimento, las personas alcanzarán la prosperidad. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Sara. Thank you por tu ponencia. Muchas gracias. Adelante.
Thank you. It has been very interesting to learn more about New Zealand, which is a country very far geographically, but so close in the concern of women and economic development. We have several companies that maybe have never thought about exporting to New Zealand, and now they will consider this important market. We have many things to learn about your women policies to boost their projects. And we have some questions. How long have you been working with Puebla with the B project?
Well, our project tends to go for 1 year, so we funded it in the last financial year. But actually, this project goes back a lot further because we have been working with Mexico on honey issues for quite a number of years. So it was nice to finally be able to do something practical that influences real people's lives through the embassy fund.
Okay, thank you. And these women about the big project, do they sell the product only in Mexico or are they already exporting?
They're not already exporting, but the similarities with New Zealand are that it also started in New Zealand as an Indigenous business, but it is now exporting globally. So there's plenty still to learn or exchanges that we can still have on this project.
Thank you. Preguntamos acerca del proyecto de miel en Puebla, cuánto tiempo tiene. Nos comenta que tiene cerca de 1 año, sin embargo que tiene mucho trabajo detrás, otros años, y que empezaron de manera muy similar a la que en México se realiza y que sí, que ya están exportando actualmente. Is that correct? They are already exporting, right?
In New Zealand they are, yes.
Okay, lo están exportando a Nueva Zelanda. Muy bien. Thank you. Is there another question?
Me parece que ya no tenemos más preguntas, tenemos ya el tiempo limitado, entonces todas las preguntas que vayan surgiendo las vamos a hacer llegar a Sara posteriormente. Nada más agradecer enormemente y bueno, por supuesto por la ponencia. Y también me gustaría comentar una nueva pregunta. Si tenemos tiempo, vamos midiendo nuestros tiempos para que alcancemos a hacer estas preguntas. Si me ayudas, Lupita, a formularla en inglés, yo la formulo en español, mi compañera Lupita la formula en inglés y después nos ayuda Sara a contestarla. Dice así: ¿cómo solicitamos el apoyo de Nueva Zelanda si tenemos un proyecto productivo que quisiéramos impulsar? ¿Sería a través de Sedeco Hidalgo o de la embajada?
One company is asking if they have a productive project that they would like to boost. Can they reach you directly or shall they contact Sedeco?
So in terms of our embassy fund, what we do is we do an annual call for applications, which for this year is unfortunately just closed, but we do it around September every year. And if there is interest, then please put me in touch and we can make sure that you receive the next email for the call for funds.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Nos dice que hay una convocatoria anual que actualmente está cerrada, pero que con todo gusto se pueden acercar a la embajada y evaluar los apoyos para el próximo año.
Gracias. Continuamos con otro comentario de Ariadna Aguilar. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos en esta transmisión en vivo. Y Ariadna nos dice: la Embajada de Nueva Zelanda nos puede apoyar en proporcionarnos información sobre regulaciones no arancelarias a productos de alimentos. Si me lo permites, Lupita, ¿me ayudas, por favor? Gracias.
A company wants to know if the embassy can help us to learn about non-tariff regulations.
Yes, although I think that the most appropriate kind of source for that information is to seek the support of a business counsel that may be able to help you with those questions, because obviously they might be very specific to the product that you have. In New Zealand, we have very few tariff barriers. We're a very open market, but there are some rules around biosecurity because we have we're separated from everybody else in the world, so there's a lot of diseases that we don't have. So biosecurity is something that you should investigate if you're exporting fresh food products.
Sí, nos comentan que sí nos pueden apoyar con eso, sin embargo considera que sería mejor verificarlo con un despacho de negocios. Y pues aprovecho el comercial, sí, aquí en la Secretaría de Desarrollo Económico contamos con un área de exportación donde con todo gusto les pueden apoyar a investigar las regulaciones arancelarias y no arancelarias para sus productos, no solo para el mercado de Nueva Zelanda, sino a cualquier destino que sea de su interés.
Gracias, Lupita, por la traducción. Muchas gracias por el apoyo. Continuamos y así hemos tenido más comentarios. Tenemos otra pregunta, si me lo permite, Sara. Dice: si tengo un producto, Areli Rodríguez nos hace esta pregunta: si tengo un producto para exportar, ¿a dónde debo dirigirme para poder exportarlo a Nueva Zelanda?
This question is very similar, related to the previous one. If I have a product that I would like to export, should I contact somebody there at the embassy, or where should I go?
Yeah, it depends really. So your Mexican embassy in New Zealand may be able to help. Also, the business councils that I mentioned may also be able to help. It depends. Sometimes we can help, but it depends on the product.
Gracias, Sara.
Nos comenta que sí se puede acercar a la embajada, pero que igual que en la pregunta anterior, nos referiría mejor a un despacho consultor de negocios, pero que depende del producto. Ciertamente hay productos que es más fácil cumplir con las regulaciones de cada país. Y también, nuevamente el comercial, acérquense con nosotros a la Secretaría de Desarrollo Económico y con gusto les apoyamos a resolver estas dudas sobre exportación.
Gracias, Lupita, muchas gracias. Sí, hay que considerar todos estos apoyos y las áreas específicas que tiene la Secretaría de Desarrollo Económico para el acompañamiento de todas las mujeres que desean iniciar con este proceso. Bien, pues vamos a dar paso a la lectura del reconocimiento. Tenemos un reconocimiento por la entrega y por la participación de nuestra ponente. Me voy a permitir dar lectura en español y posteriormente le pido el apoyo a mi compañera Lupita para poderlo leer. Y dice así: la Secretaría de Desarrollo Económico otorga el presente reconocimiento a Sarah Jane Ireland, embajadora de Nueva Zelanda en México, por su valiosa participación con la conferencia denominada La participación de Nueva Zelanda en el empoderamiento económico de las mujeres a través del comercio, celebrado en el marco de la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme Hidalgo 2025, Pachuca de Soto Hidalgo, 26 de noviembre del 2025, firma el ingeniero Carlos Henkel Escorza, secretario de Desarrollo Económico del Estado de Hidalgo.
Hidalgo Economic Secretary gives this recognition to Sarah Jane Ireland, ambassador from New Zealand, for the participation in the conference New Zealand Empowerment for Women through the Commerce, or through Trade. This is signed by the Secretary of Economic Development, Carlos Henkel Escorza.
Muchísimas gracias, Sara. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias por la invitación. It was a pleasure to talk to you today about New Zealand. Thank you very much.
Gracias a ti, Sara. Y bueno, es así como hemos llegado a la parte final de esta importante conferencia y les pedimos, por favor, que continúen, que permanezcan conectados. Vamos a dar paso a nuestra segunda conferencia igual, muy interesante, así es que estas capacitaciones le brindan todas las herramientas de manera gratuita a las mujeres hidalguenses para poderse capacitar. Recuerden también que hay un foro comercial muy importante en el cual ustedes pueden registrar su producto o servicio, así ampliar su cartera de clientes y es totalmente gratuito. Es importante que conozcan, por supuesto, la plataforma de la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme, la tenemos en pantalla. Este año tiene novedades, este año es totalmente diferente en esta Semana Mujer Mi Pyme 2025. Hemos innovado y añadido herramientas digitales que, por supuesto, favorecen la venta y la difusión de sus negocios en todo el estado de Hidalgo. Aquí tenemos también la forma en la que ustedes pueden registrarse, pueden acceder a la cartelera completa, la programación completa de las conferencias, y si tú te perdiste de las conferencias de lunes o martes, puedes acceder a ella en cualquier momento, únicamente registrándote. Puedes ver cuáles son y quiénes son los conferencistas, su trayectoria y toda la preparación que tienen. De verdad, la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme se distingue por la participación de ponentes de talla internacional y expertos en la materia. En este momento vemos el foro comercial y esta temporada es muy buena para darte a conocer. La temporada navideña te permite poder tener un stand virtual. Recuerda que los medios digitales te ayudan a llegar a muchas más personas. Si tú no puedes tener un stand físico, puedes tenerlo de forma virtual, totalmente gratuito, en el foro comercial de la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme. ¿Y cómo lo podemos hacer? Muy fácil. Te registras, subes una fotografía de tu negocio, una descripción, y en este momento estamos viendo los diferentes negocios que tenemos para que las personas que se registren en la plataforma puedan acceder al foro, y todo está al alcance de un solo clic. Con un solo clic tú vas a poder comprar los productos que desees. Por supuesto, siempre promovemos el consumo local. De verdad, tenemos muchísimos productos con mucha calidad en nuestro estado. Justo la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme busca esto, promover la compra y la venta de los productos de mujeres empresarias del estado de Hidalgo. Y bueno, les recordamos cuál es la página. También nos están preguntando cuál es el sitio oficial de la Semana Mujer Mi Pyme. Si nos puede ayudar nuestro equipo de producción a colocarlo en la pantalla, es Semana Mujer Mi Pyme .hidalgo.gov.mx. También síguenos, por favor, en Facebook, tenemos todas las conferencias y estamos transmitiendo en vivo a través del Facebook de Desarrollo Económico Hidalgo y, por supuesto, en nuestro canal de YouTube. Si me puede ayudar también nuestro equipo de producción a colocar el sitio de YouTube para que nos sigan en todas nuestras redes sociales, en YouTube, en Facebook y, por supuesto, aquí acompañándonos en esta Semana Mujer Mi Pyme Hidalgo 2025. Pues bueno, continuamos con la segunda conferencia. No se muevan, por favor, y muchísimas gracias por la atención. Continuamos.